We're off the program here a little bit, but Paulina wanted to read you something. Does it work?
Hey, hey. Hello, everybody. We are a family. I'm Polina Liske, Cazimir's wife, and this is Katy. This is John, and I have to read something, because I'm just feeling that Kaz gave it to me as a message. This is poem by Henry Scott Holland. Here it is. Death is nothing at all. I have only slipped away to the next room. I am I, and you are you. Whatever we were to each other, that we still are. Call me by my old familiar name. Speak to me in the easy way which you always used. Put no difference into your tone. Wear no forced air of solemnity or sorrow. Laugh as we always laughed at the little jokes we enjoyed together. Play, smile, think of me, pray for me. Let my name be ever the household word that it always was. Let it be spoken without effect, without the trace of a shadow on it. Life means all that it ever meant. It's the same that it ever was. There is absolutely unbroken continuity. Why should I be out of mind? Because I'm out of sight. I am but waiting for you, for an interval, somewhere, very near, just around the corner. All is well. Nothing is past, nothing is lost. One brief moment, and all will be as it was before, only better. Infinitely happier, and forever we will all be one together with Christ.
Thank you, Paulina. Good afternoon, everyone. I am pleased to be here with you this afternoon. Thank you just for coming. Your presence in and of itself gives witness to the impact that Kaz had on this world. And it's also an expression of thanksgiving for his life and support for his family that I know they are very grateful for. My name is Ian Cummins. I'm probably one of the few people in this room who did not know Kaz personally. I'm the pastor at Montview Presbyterian Church just over in Park Hill, where John and Katy attend. But I wish I had known him. Everything I have heard, read, seen about his remarkable life since he died was a testament to how special this young man was. And while the death of anyone so young seems achingly senseless to us, the death of someone so talented and creative, so full of life and of love, leaves us stunned and speechless, as I'm sure many of you were when you heard the news. Since then, other emotions and reactions have undoubtedly emerged for you. You may have wept, screamed. You may feel a depth of sadness unfelt before. And I want to say as we open our time together that I hope that this is a safe place for anything and everything that you do feel. Grief comes differently to each of us and on different schedules. And one of the most important reasons that we do memorial services is not really for the person who died at all, but rather for those of us who must go on living without them. So we need times like this where we can tell stories and sing and cry, where we can laugh and comfort each other and remember. And what will emerge from this time together will be a kind of offering, a love offering to Kaz, to God, to each other. An offering that we will take with us, that we can return to, that will stay with us as we learn how to hold Kaz in our lives and in our hearts in a new way. It is not easy, this work of grieving, and it's why we do it together. And finally, I hope you will also trust that when I say we do this together, that we can count among those present here today not just the visible and the embodied. I'm sure we all come from very different faith traditions here today, religious beliefs, but I believe and I invite you to be open to the possibility that Kaz's spirit truly is with us today, and that God, whatever God may be, for none of us truly knows, is present here too in this space. They too are a part of this circle of love that we form, this community of grief and gratefulness. And together we will celebrate and give thanks for the remarkable, beautiful life of Cazimir Liske. Would you pray with me? Holy One of many names and many faces, come to each of us this day in the unique ways that each of us need you. Be a word of comfort to one, the hand of grace to another. Be a strength, a peace, a hope. For though our hearts ache and our minds reel at so much that makes no sense, we will cleave to what we know, that nothing is more powerful than love, not fear, nor hatred, nor death. And in this room there is great love. In this room there is a family of friendship and care, brought together by the far-reaching arm of Kaz's gift for creating connections. And in this room there is your great love, your mysterious presence, O God, you who loves us and weeps with us and cares for us beyond the bounds of our vision. We pray that this time will, in some small ways, be a source of healing and of hope, that together we will find comfort and be comfort to each other. And trusting in your eternal word to us that life does not end with death, we will, even in our sorrow, give thanks and be grateful. We pray for your blessing upon this service, and we commend it to you as we commend dear Kaz, to be sheltered forevermore in your grace. Amen.
Hi guys, my name's Abby. I first met Kaz in high school Spanish class at East High, just down the road. This was when Kaz still only knew 3 languages, minor leagues, I know. But it seems fitting that we would meet in Spanish class. As we all know, Kaz certainly had a love of languages and a gift when it came to languages. One of my first memories of Kaz was when he, Dan Manzanares, and myself, and a few other classmates met in my parents' basement to create a movie for Spanish class. I'm not really sure if there was a plot involved, but there was a bar scene, a gun scene, and someone was tied up with rope at one point. So looking back, I kind of think it would have been better if we just left all the writing, directing, acting, translating, composing even to Kaz, and we probably would have received a better grade. Who knows? Thank you. Maybe that 7-minute Spanish skit actually was what inspired all of Kaz's future theatrical endeavors, but maybe not. In the last 3 months, someone asked me what made Kaz so extraordinary. When asked this, the first word that came to my mind was laughter. Katie Conrad, a lifelong close friend to Kaz, put it, in high school, when everything about you feels so weird and awkward and unlovable, Kaz had a way of making you feel like you were the most important person in the world. Most people like that aren't so authentic, but he was. Kaz and I's friendship was many things, but at the base of it, and at the best of it, was laughter. Kaz reminded me to enjoy life for its silliness, its ridiculousness, to enjoy life just to enjoy it. In an email he sent me this past year, he wrote, "Abster, I'm in Dempster. Want a hangster?" This ability to make every day fun, the usual unusual, is what I loved most in Kaz. Kaz used to, I don't know if you guys remember, but in high school, I used to have these really fancy ice cream sandwiches that came in the plastic container. Anyway, and so he and I had this game where we would open the container, and then we'd point to the ice cream sandwich that we wanted, and we'd say, "You're the one that I want." And then we would eat that ice cream sandwich. And this tradition continued to eat many foods. And I remember, sorry, am I good? Okay. I remember at a barbecue at his house, Kaz was flipping burgers. And I, of course, said, "You're the one that I want," to the hamburger. And my boyfriend at the time said, "Oh, Abby, only you would think that was funny." I know. And, and I said, "No, that's not true. Kaz thinks it's funny." Because I knew if Kaz thought it was funny, it was really good. You know? Like, if Kaz had that deep, hearty laugh, you felt like the funniest, most important person in the world. And I imagine we're all here today because Kaz had that effect on all of us. In high school, Kaz was one of those people who was able to infiltrate many different social groups. Matt Holden explained it like this. He was a guy cool enough that he could play soccer, do theater, learn more languages than anyone I've met, play the crumb horn, and not care what anyone thought of him. As my dear friend Ellen Strickland said, Kaz and I were good friends, who I knew fairly well, but still he lived so many lives. Just when I thought I knew everything about him, I discovered that he was on ski patrol at Winter Park and would go skiing every Saturday. And this is like so true, because right when you thought you knew something about him, as Jeremy Schulman discovered, you would learn that Kaz played the recorder in a Renaissance musical group. So Kaz, right? It is hard to write a eulogy for such a person. It is even harder to say goodbye to such a friend. In writing this piece, I reached out to some of Kaz's closest high school friends. The following is a collage of memories from these people. I wish I could claim them all as my own. I wish I had visited Kaz in Italy with Hilary Smith, or watched France win the '98 World Cup on a vineyard in France with Adam Mueller and Kaz. I was just sitting at home, probably. Some memories overlapped and were shared by many, but others were unique. Either way, here they are. We remember sucking margaritas through a straw on your parents' kitchen counter because the blender broke and it was high school, and where were we going to get more tequila? You said make it funny. So. Summer nights riding around Park Hill, always with helmets. City Park, 7-Eleven, ice cream melting. We remember driving to Cotopaxi at night, too many stars, and even more when we got there, talking around the campfire about love, the meaning of life, our place in the universe, and you singing that one song. How did it go? Playing the book game and hiking to Fort later. We remember your kindness, wit, your talent. How welcoming and inclusive you were to foreign exchange students. The time you tried like hell to get Ellen to take Pato to prom. She already had a date, so it wasn't really fair. A 3-month period senior year when you ate rice and beans for lunch every day. All your friends would head off to restaurants and fast food joints, and you would go back to your house alone to eat rice and beans. Helping you pack for Italy, helping you pack for France. Your pool table basement and the world map on your bedroom wall. We remember your fearlessness, the way you went after life with no apprehension. Stealing Katie's blue convertible Mazda Miata and driving it around Park Hill before we had our driver's license. We did a 360 through the intersection of 22nd and Dexter during a rainstorm. It was awesome. That was Adam Mueller, by the way. Helping you unpack from Italy, helping you unpack from France. Bowls from Uzbekistan, pins from Russia. Your handwriting appearing in my mailbox, letters from abroad, postcards saying, buongiorno, postcards stating, au revoir. Visiting you in Italy, your host family had fallen so quickly in love. You spoke beautifully in Italian. It wasn't as much your grasp of the language, but more that you had zero insecurity while speaking it. How did that song go that you used to sing around the campfire? The one that you covered better than the original? We remember your kindness, your humor, your talent. When we discovered that you and Jeremy had the same TV, whenever the Schulmans were enjoying a show in their living room, you would change the channel with your remote control through the kitchen window. We would duck down not to be seen. It was the funniest. French toast at Heroes near East, French toast in your mom's kitchen. The epic cone years of senior year. Driving around, coning in your truck, coning all day after prom. For those of you unfamiliar with coning is when you steal a traffic cone, or quite a few traffic cones, and place them all over your friends, or not friends, lawn. In the morning, they awake to a pumpkin patch of traffic cones. If this has ever happened to you, consider yourself officially coned. And if you'd like more information about international coning, you can reference Dan Manzanares later today. Doing donuts in the snow in your Jeep. We remember your fearlessness, the way you went after life with no pause. Acting out Waiting for Godot with Jeremy and Adam. Playing bananagrams and you convincing us all that sud was definitely a word. Watching the U.S. beat Mexico 2-0 in the 2002 World Cup at 2 in the morning. Just when we thought no one in the United States cared about soccer, we heard Larry Shulman cheering through the open window next door. Pins from Russia, pinch bowls from Uzbekistan. We remember your kindness, your love, your passion. Sangre de Cristo Mountains, Paul Simon on the car stereo. You knew every word. We remember you, an inspiration, your truly unique and colorful spirit who brought energy and light into our lives. They are Matt Holden's words, but I have to agree that some part of my heart will always be 16, sitting around a campfire with Kaz in Cotopaxi. Save tonight, fight the break of dawn, come tomorrow. Tomorrow I'll be gone, save tonight. Fight the break of dawn, come tomorrow. Tomorrow I'll be gone, save tonight. Fight the break of dawn, come tomorrow. Tomorrow I'll be gone. Tonight, it's going. Fight the break of dawn, come tomorrow. Tomorrow I'll be gone. Tomorrow I'll be gone. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Dan Manzanares. Kaz and I met on the soccer fields at East High School. I was a year older than Kaz, so we didn't take a lot of classes, but the epic Spanish class we did take. And then after that, it was kind of, we just became closer and closer until after both of us had graduated. The summer of his graduation from high school, we went to Europe for a month together. And after that, we were lifelong friends. So I have 2 short poems I'm going to read. But before I do that, I wanted to read 3 short paragraphs from Kaz's last email he sent to me. I wanted to put his words in the room. Dear ones, we are preparing a gift for Oliver that we hope you will be able to participate in. It's quite simple and it's not our idea, but something we heard about and decided we'd like to try too. All you need is a pen, paper, and a postage stamp. The gift is a letter to Oliver from each one of you. Oliver won't read the letters until many years from now on his 18th birthday. We'll try to wait that long anyway. You may write whatever you like. It's just between you and Oliver. So you can write whatever you feel you'd like to say to him. It might seem like a silly idea, and maybe in 2033, things like this will be out of style, but I think Oliver will like it. We would be thrilled if you found time to contribute. It won't replace seeing you, but you have been so supportive of Oliver since before his birth, and we would love for him to know something about you, about the world he was born into, and how our dear friends and family were woven together into a young person named Oliver Liske. We are madly preparing for Christmas concerts, shows, all the insanity that happens in the theater around the end of the year. We feel often that we are at our wits' end with rehearsals and errands and meeting ends, but we are saved always by you. By just knowing that you're out there, wondering about us, helping in all the ways you have done, and wishing us well. So we'd like you to know that we too are thinking of you, loving you, thankful and full of joy because we have you in our lives and in our hearts. Happy holidays, Kaz, Polina, and Oliver. So when I received this email in December, the first thing I thought was, oh no, I am horrible at this type of reciprocation when it comes to friendship, when people ask these types of things. I'm so bad at them. It's just not my style. And but I was determined to do this. It was such a wonderful idea, but I didn't do it. I saw Kaz and Polina and Oliver in February, and in April, Kaz died. And the first thing I did was write the letter to Oliver. And this is the opening poem that I wrote. Oliver, when you come calling, I'll be here. If it takes us years, so be it. We can celebrate life without fear. When you come calling, I'll be here. Dad will be far. Dad will be near. He might feel to you like a comet. When you come calling, I'll be here. If it takes us years, so be it. And then the final poem was sent to Katy after Kaz's good friend Emily heard the news of Kaz's passing, and it's called Instructions on Not Giving Up by Ada Limon. More than the fuchsia funnels breaking out of the crabapple tree, more than the neighbor's almost obscene display of cherry limbs shoving their cotton candy-colored blossoms to the slate sky of spring rains. It's the greening of the trees that really gets to me. When all the shock of white and taffy, the world's baubles and trinkets, leave the pavement strewn with the confetti of aftermath, the leaves come. Patient, plodding, a green skin growing over whatever winter did to us. A return to the strange idea of continuous living, despite the mess of us, the hurt, the empty. Fine then, I'll take it, the tree seems to say. A new slick leaf unfurling like a fist to an open palm. I'll take it all. Thank you.
I have some tissues. Does anybody want a tissue? I think there's 3 or 4. You want that? Hey everybody, I'm Paul. If you don't know me, my name is Paul Marino. Kaz and I met in acting 1 class. I think that's the first time I ever saw him. We had an assignment, which was to my first vivid memory of him was an assignment to act out a scene from our everyday lives, just like a moment in our daily routine. And I just remember Kaz playing himself in the bathroom mirror first thing in the morning and stretching. You can imagine it, just him stretching out his face in the mirror and looking at the back of his tongue and all of his teeth. And then I wondered, does this guy really floss first thing in the morning? And I don't know if he did. He may have. He did. Yeah. Great dental hygiene. We'll always remember Kaz for his strong dental hygiene. I obviously don't know what I'm going to say up here. I just decided that I would follow the Quaker way of just saying what I was moved to say. And I've been listening to everybody a lot lately. Last night, I had the gift of preparing food for a whole bunch of friends, and a lot of people were meeting each other for the first time. And I got to just listen from the kitchen. And I was in Moscow about 6 weeks ago, and that was a real treat. Such a moving, meaningful visit. I often was, around. I was just surrounded by a Russian, and I just felt like a dog. People were sometimes. I was glad when they were laughing, but I just felt them, and I felt Kaz's space over there. And what I can tell you is that he was just so loved there, and he just had such a great community of friends there, and places where he was really at home. People who saw him every day, and really knew our Kaz that we all loved. I know a lot of us have been waiting for this for a long time, for something to make Kaz's death concrete to us. We've been waiting for a couple of months, so I'm really glad to be here with you all. Kaz, this is a story. I saw the program a couple of days ago, and it said a story, and I thought, oh, okay, well, I'll have to find the story, that has everything about Kaz in it. I couldn't think of it. Emerson said that, this is going to sound pretentious because I'm going to quote Emerson. And the truth is, I just looked it up on my phone. So we get it wrong. He said something like, men imagine that they communicate their vices and virtues with overt actions, but in fact, their vices and virtues they emit breath in every moment. And I think if I had spent just a couple of weekends with Kaz or something, I'd have some anecdote where I figured him out and I said, this guy, that was Kaz. But for me, Kaz was this living part of my life. And everything about him was just in the way that he'd approach you, when he saw you for the first time in a while, in his body language, every vice and virtue, all his tremendous love and admiration for us, for all of us, in spite of our flaws, and his eagerness to be loved and to be with us, his vulnerability. I can just see it all in his face, Kaz called me up. This is a story like every story that we all have, which is that you're living in a major city and Kaz calls you up because he's there already. And and you get around to asking, do you need a place to crash? And he does. And, you're not alone. Like, we all, I think, if you wondered if this was a one-way friendship sometimes, because Kaz, you heard from Kaz when he needed a place to sleep, you're not alone. And, the times that it's just ridiculous that I put Kaz up, I'd say, oh, you bet, like, we're in the luck, my brother just moved out of his apartment, and his mattress is there, and I got the key. Kaz and I, slept on this mattress, and I just remember goofing around in our boxer shorts, just flapping our arms around and stuff, and just making just so much fun out of thin air. And all the laughter, that we stored up. I found that, when I found myself really kind of wailing, really crying, which we've all, needed, and it's been kind of a welcome thing, I think, when it happens for all of us, probably. It's just so similar to laughter, physically. And it's like we put all that in, and it's all there, and Kaz and I just laughed so much together. I don't think I ever laughed so much with anybody. I thought, I've done all these favors for Kaz, Kaz's favor debt was getting pretty high, and he was going to have to pay up one of these days, and I was kind of looking forward to that, when I was going to kind of maybe park my RV in his big house out in L.A. or something, or, he's going to be get some award, and I'm with him, whatever, I know him, you want to date me, whatever. And I was like, well, shucks, now who's going to pay up? Oliver's going to have to pay. Someone's got to pay. So then I got here this weekend, and I said to myself, oh, my goodness, I just realized this. There's Shauna. There's Asa. There's, I think, even Owen and Emily and Allie. And I'm sure I'm missing people. Who am I missing? That's here. That is just a friend who Kaz shared with me. Kaz gave me these friends who are, these are people that I have to say I love you to them when I get off the phone with them. I have to. And he gave me these incredible friends. And whether Kaz introduced you to someone or whether he was the fire that you gathered around, whether he created a moment that you bonded over, Kaz gave us each other. And I realized that, putting him up on the floor of the Toyota Chinook was the least I could do, I'm going to get off the stage on that note. Thank you so much.
Okay, so my name is Cliff Campbell. As I was hearing people describe where they first met Kaz, I was going through my brain, and I'm realizing it was with Eli in New York City, my freshman year of college. We were walking around the streets of New York pretending we were vampires. It was really funny. And we were seeing secret languages coded in the street signs of New York City. So when it says post no bills in New York City, it was post no bills, and it was like a uprising message from the vampires. So I guess it's hard to meet someone like that and then be like, that was a one-time thing. So we stayed friends ever since. So I wanted to read a poem today and kind of let the poem speak to you. As we all know, Kaz spoke a lot of languages, Italian, Russian, Koning. And one of the authors that was really special to him, and one of the survivors that was really special to him was Primo Levi. So Primo Levi was a Italian Holocaust survivor who Kaz did a lot of work with at Dartmouth and after Dartmouth, translating and brought a piece of theater to Moscow, and it was really in his heart. So I was racking my brain, like, what do I say up here? What do I read? And a friend of mine from Dartmouth was like, read this poem by Primo Levi. And I was like, it can't be that easy. And then I read this poem, and I was like, this is the poem that I needed for the last few months, just trying to get through this and figure it out with everyone in our community. So this is a poem by Primo Levi that I just wanted to read today. To my friends. Dear friends, I say friends here in the larger sense of the word. Wife, sister, associates, relatives, schoolmates, men and women, persons seen only once or frequented all my life. Provided that between us, for at least a moment, was drawn a segment, a well-defined cord. I speak for you, companions on a journey dense, not devoid of effort, and also for you who have lost the soul, the spirit, the wish to live, or nobody, or somebody, or perhaps only one, or you who are reading me. Remember the time before the wax hardened, when each of us was like a seal. Each of us carries the imprint of a friend met along the way. In each, the trace of each, for good or evil, in wisdom or in folly, everyone stamped by each. Now that the time presses urgently and the tasks are finished, to all of you, the modest wish that autumn will be long and mild. Thank you.
Can you hear? My name is Odin Byron. I was, for the past 12, 13 years now, Kaz's friend, travel mate, working colleague, classmate at the Moscow Art Theater. Katy asked me here today to talk about this third of Kaz's life, and a third of my life, which is completely, you have to understand, inextricable from Kaz, which is his life in Russia, which I'm sure many of you know. He lived and worked in Russia, in Moscow, for the past years, where he met his lovely wife, Polina. It's a terrible burden to try to explain, not explain, but somehow give you some understanding of what this was, why he did this. Because if you're anything like my family, as much as you might, on some level, understand how wonderful this is, it's a very difficult thing to understand why he was there, perhaps. What the hell was he doing there, perhaps? So I'm going to try to do this as a little bit of a narrative, because I have a feeling that's the only way I'm going to get anything out here. Kaz and I met at the Eugene O'Neill Theater Center in Connecticut. Kaz had done this very, very historical exchange, one of the oldest cultural exchanges with Russia, between the United States and Russia, going back to Soviet times, via the Eugene O'Neill Theater Center the year before I did. He went there to study 3 months, the Moscow Art Theater semester, studied to be an actor at the Moscow Art Theater with the teachers there, etc. I went the year after that and got to meet the lovely Shauna Lucy and Caz Liske, who were our docents, were our guides, our introduction to Russia at that point in time. My first introduction to Kaz was I came late. My train was late coming into Connecticut, and I was the very last one. It was very late. And so I pull into, if you've never been to the Eugene O'Neill Theater Center, it's this gorgeous East Coast mansion overlooking the ocean. And at nighttime, it's pitch black there, and there was just, in the distance, there was this gorgeous mansion lit up at nighttime. And there was a light on the porch, kind of like a Southern Virginia porch. And there, in this rocking chair, sat, with a guitar, Caz Liske. And that was just, that's the image that's stuck in my head to this day, who he was, what he is. So that was our first introduction. I went to Russia on this exchange program. Then I was invited back to study full-time at the Moscow Art. Kaz had his own ideas that he wanted to study full-time at the Moscow Art. And we both started putting our heads together at that time, and our heads really didn't come apart then for another 12 years. He also wanted to study there. We came together, and he told me about a teacher, Konstantin Rykin, one of the master teachers, one of the country's more famous actors, and he runs a very famous theater in Moscow. He had a wonderful class that was there at the time that was studying for 4 years. Kaz told me, Odin, why don't you try out for him? Let's go study with this guy for 4 years. I did. Rykin took us both on, and we became the first 2 Americans to graduate full-time from the Moscow Art Theater. Fast forward 4 years. We have now graduated. One of our final projects was working with the lovely actress at the Moscow Art Theater, Svetlana Ivanova, who created, along with us and our very good friend, the artist and stage designer Dima Razumov, we created a show called Lafcadio. Lafcadio was based on Shel Silverstein's story, if you know it, Lafcadio, the lion that shot back. Yeah? Wonderful story. The show that we ended up doing was one of our final exams for speech class at the Moscow Art Theater. We did the first section of it, and while everyone else was doing Dostoevsky and was crying and beating themselves, and the heaviest literature you could find was what we needed to do for the final government exam at the Moscow Art Theater, Odin and Kaz came out with marshmallows. Literally, marshmallows, because that's what's in the text. We came out with marshmallows, and we covered the audience in marshmallows, and read the first part of this text, and it was wonderful. It was what theater was supposed to be. And you all know what Shel Silverstein is. There's so much in it. At any rate, we ended up graduating, and we ended up putting this together as a real show, a full-time show. We ended up, we traveled all over Russia. We traveled above the Arctic Circle. We traveled to Belarus. We traveled out east to Lake Baikal. We were invited to the Tehran International Theater Festival because Kaz and I love going to places like Russia and Tehran and places like that. We feel, to some degree, and that's what I really want to get to, that if you want to try to understand why we were there, what we were doing, what Kaz was doing there, what Kaz wanted, and I can't claim, of course, I know exactly what he wanted, but after more than a decade of working with him and forming a creative partnership with him, I feel like I have some understanding of what he was going for. We sat here in Denver. Recently, we created a small organization that we wanted to turn into a theater organization. We put our heads together last time I was in Denver, nights, night after night, sitting by the fireplace, sitting at Katie and John's cabin, talking about what we had learned in this decade over in Russia, because we knew that there was something there of value. We knew that there was something there that we wanted to give back. We knew there was something there that needed to come here, because we felt there was something missing here. We knew that there was some dialogue that needed to happen that clearly can't happen at any other level, can only happen in art, because that's our job. That's what we do. You know? We fine-tune the souls of people. We don't talk about politics straight out. The journalists can talk about politics straight out. Journalists can talk about facts. What we did was we tried to talk with people, not talk with them even. Words are even superfluous here. We fine-tune the souls of people. That's what we want to do. That's what Kaz wanted to do. That's what I wanted to do. And we knew that it was something that was missing here in a big way in art. In a lot of the places in the West. And something that we learned there specifically. And that's why he was there. Aside from the fact that we both fell in love with Russia, we both fell in love with Moscow, and we both fell in love with people there. Kaz did a lot of projects over the past. We created Lafcadio, and we became one of the biggest it was considered one of the best kids shows in town. Pretty much, probably because it wasn't really a kids show. If you know Shel Silverstein, you know it's not just for kids. But Kaz went on over the next few years. We had 3 more projects that we ended up doing together here in the States and Russia. Kaz, as we all know, you as the person were always just one fraction of his life. Kaz was always in 3 million places at once. If you had been to the funeral that we had in Moscow, you would have seen every fractal of Russian and a Russian art world was there to say goodbye to him. Because everyone who had touched him, everyone who had a moment with him, everyone who had a second with him, he touched them and was indelible. He was just that kind of person. He was completely indelible. And he, over the past few years, did lots of things. One of the big things that he got involved in was his music. There was a concert. He did a wonderful show with his good friend and colleague, Ivan Verpayev, called Sakhar, Sugar. It was a rock concert based on Ivan is one of the biggest contemporary playwrights in Russia these days. And he wrote this play based on his poetry. And Kaz arranged, wrote, and sang a lot of the music there. And it was the first time, we all know Kaz was a fantastic musician. We all know his voice was gorgeous. But here, all of a sudden, for one of the first times, I saw, when I heard him play this music, a completely new quality. You know, it's hard to explain. One of Ivan's poems talks about this young boy who thinks, you know, I look at this friend, I look at that friend. They all have their thing that they do. This friend holds this ice. He takes ice, the last ice and snow of the winter, and he puts it in the freezer, and then he pulls it out in July, and that's so cool. And I tried to do that, but it isn't the same. And that's the thing. Kaz was always looking. Maybe didn't find his own thing for a while, but then all of a sudden I saw this. I saw him play this rock music. I saw him open his voice in a way that I had never seen before. And he came out, and I saw the artist. I saw what he could become had he had more patience with himself, perhaps. So he did a lot of things. He did a lot of music. We did shows together. He worked a lot at the Praktika Theater in Moscow, which is one of the most interesting and contemporary theaters in Moscow. Everybody knew him. Everybody loved him. Everyone was interested to see where he was going to go from here. And I just want to, because I know we want to keep this 5 minutes, I just wanted to share one main thing. It's impossible. I mean, honestly, trying to crucify the last decade down into 5 minutes is impossible. But at the funeral that we had, the memorial service in Moscow that we had, a young man got on stage, because in the Russian tradition we talk a lot. We like talking at things like that, getting gatherings like that. And I didn't know him, but he said that when he heard the news of Kaz's passing, he was very distraught, and he immediately found clips of Lafcadio, the play that we had done. And he turned it on, and he brought his son into the room, and he explained to his son that, you know, this person has died. I want to show you this. Do you remember this? And his son looked at these clips and said, yeah, I remember this, of course. And I wasn't able to put this into words, but this person, the stranger that I didn't know, put exactly into words what I think Kaz was doing there, and I know I was trying to do there, and I know we both were trying to do together in Russia, even though it wasn't that specific. But what he said to his son was, now you look at this, and you remember that someday people are going to tell you that there are bad people out there. People in other countries who want to hurt you. But you don't believe them. Because right here, these two are proof that there are good people out there. And I wasn't able to put that into words, but I knew that that is what both Kaz and I wanted to do, if no one else can be a diplomat of goodness, if no one else can just shut up and talk in a humane way to each other, we were going to try to do that in our little way. And I know that's what Kaz wanted to do. And that's barely scratching the surface of what his life was in Russia, but I hope it gave you some understanding.
I also promised to keep it under 5 minutes, so I'm going to go straight into it. I'm going to read Song of the Road, excerpts from Song of the Road by Walt Whitman. The earth, that is sufficient. I do not want the constellations any nearer. I know they are very well where they are. I know they suffice for those who belong to them. Still here I carry my old delicious burdens. I carry them, men and women. I carry them with me wherever I go. I swear it is impossible for me to get rid of them. I am filled with them, and I will fill them in return. I inhale great draughts of space. The east and the west are mine, the north and the south are mine. I can repeat over to men and women, you have done such good to me, I would do the same unto you. I will recruit myself and you as I go. I will scatter myself among men and women as I go. I will toss a new gladness and roughness among them. Whoever denies me, it shall not burden me. Whoever accepts me, he or she shall be blessed and shall bless me. Here is realization. Here is a man tallied. He realizes here what he has in him, the past, the future, majesty, love. If you are vacant of them, they are vacant of you. Here is the efflux of the soul. The efflux of the soul comes from within, through embowered gates, ever-provoking questions. These yearnings, why are they? These thoughts in the darkness, why are they? Why are there men and women that while they are nigh me, the sunlight expands my blood? Why, when they leave me, do my pennants of joy sink flat and lank? What is it I interchange so suddenly with strangers? What with the some driver as I ride on the seat by his side? What gives me to be free of a woman's and a man's good will? What gives them to be free of mine? The efflux of the soul is happiness. Happiness. Here is happiness. I think it pervades the open air, waiting at all times. Now it flows unto us. We are rightly charged. Идем поскорее. Whoever you are, come travel with me. Traveling with me, you find what never tires. Listen, I will be honest with you. I do not offer old smooth prizes, but offer rough new prizes. These are the days that must happen to you. You shall not heap up what is called riches. You shall scatter with lavish hand all that you earn or achieve. You but arrive at a city to which you were destined. You hardly settle yourself to satisfaction before you are called by an irresistible call to depart. What beckonings of love you receive, you shall only answer with passionate kisses of parting. Идем поскорее, after great companions, and to belong to them. They too are on the road. They are the swift and majestic men. They are the greatest women. Enjoyers of calms of seas and storms of seas, pausers and contemplators of tufts, blossoms, shells of the shore, dancers at wedding dances, kissers of brides, tender helpers of children, bearers of children, soldiers of revolts, standers by gaping graves, lowerers down of coffins. Идем же скорее. To that which is endless as it was beginningless. To see nothing anywhere but what you may reach it and pass it, to conceive no time, however distant, but you may reach it and pass it. To look up or down no road, but it stretches and waits for you, however long it stretches, but waits for you. To see no being, not God's or any, but also you may go thither. To see no possession, but you may possess it, enjoying all without labor or purchase, abstracting the feast, yet not abstracting one particle of it. To take the best of the farmer's farm and the rich man's villa, to take to your use the compact cities as you pass through, to carry the buildings and streets with you afterward wherever you go, to gather the minds of men out of their brains as you encounter them, to gather the love out of their hearts, to know the universe itself as a road, as many roads, as roads for traveling souls. all parts away for the progress of souls. All religion, all solid things, arts, governments, all that was or is apparent upon this globe or any globe falls into niches and corners before the procession of souls along the grand roads of the universe. Whoever you are, come forth. Man or woman, come forth. You must not stay sleeping and dallying there in the house, though you built it, or though it has been built for you, out of the dark of confinement, out from behind the screen. Behold, through you as bad as the rest, through the laughter, the dancing, dining, supping of people, inside those dresses and ornaments, inside those washed and trimmed faces, behold a secret, silent loathing and despair. No husband, no wife, no friend, trusted to hear the confession, another self, a duplicate of everyone, sulking and hiding it goes, formless and wordless through the streets of the cities, polite and bland in the parlors, in the cars of railroads and steamboats in public assembly, home to the houses of men and women, at the table, in the bedroom, everywhere, smartly attired, countenance smiling, form upright, death under the breastbones, hell under the skull bones, under the broadcloth and gloves, under the ribbons and artificial flowers, keeping fair with the custom, speaking not a syllable of itself, speaking of anything else, but never of itself. What has succeeded? Have the past struggles succeeded? Yourself? Your nation? Nature? Now understand me well. It is provided in the essence of things that from any fruition of success, no matter what, shall come something to make a greater struggle necessary. Вперед! The road is before us. Let the paper remain on the desk unwritten and the book on the shelves unopened. Let the tools remain in the workshop. Let the money remain unearned. Tavarish, I give you my hand. I give you my love, more precious than money. I give you myself before preaching or law. Will you give me yourself? Will you come travel with me? Shall we stick by each other as long as we live? Thank you.
We're Polina, Songs of Eastern Europe, and although we didn't know Kaz, all of us now wishes that we really did, and we're so moved to be part of this memorialization of his remarkable life. And I just wanted to tell a little bit about the song and how we chose it. Katy invited us to sing, and we do traditional folk music of Eastern Europe. And she put me in touch with Polina, and we started talking about what to sing today. And Polina suggested this song that we're about to sing, and I went and listened to it. And passed it on to the other members of the group, and we all fell in love with it. It's a most beautiful hymn. So thank you so much for doing that, Polina. And it turned out that one of our members already knew the hymn in Greek, and she had always loved it. So it just was synergy that we would learn the song and sing it today for you. And it's a hymn to the Mother of God, to Mary, and it basically enumerates her wonderful qualities, and the refrain is, "Rejoice, O unwedded bride."
Thank you all again for being here today and what it meant for the family and for those of you who spoke and sang so beautifully and so honestly. Thank you. Katie and John, I have traffic control on my mind. I'm thinking if we don't get you two out when we're done, you'll never get out of here because everyone will go to you and Polina, probably our first row. So I'm going to suggest that maybe after the prayer and the benediction during the postlude, I'll escort the family out, and the rest of you all can enjoy the postlude and greet the family at the reception area. Does that sound okay? All right. Would you pray with me? Oh, dear and holy God, you are our beginning, and you are our end. You are our Alpha and our Omega. And in the face of life's great mystery, we pray for the consoling balm of your grace this day, and for the renewal of the hope and the strength that we need to hold what we must hold and to go forth together into a new day. For Kaz's life and the way his life touched so many lives, we give our deepest thanks for his creativity and his humor, for his daring spirit and his big open heart. We cannot help but smile. He blessed us in so many ways, and our lives are forever different, richer, deeper, more, because of the privilege of knowing him. Be now, O God, with all those whom he loved so dearly in the difficult days ahead. Be a candle in the darkness of their sorrow, and teach each of us how to hold this world so full of heartache and hardship with still greater hope and love. Teach us the mystery of joy and of sorrow, how one is never far from the other, how our tears and our laughter flow from the same wellspring we call love. And into your good hands we commend this celebration of Kaz's life as we commend his spirit to you, with more love than we can name or contain, to be held by you and guided by you into the light of new life and new dreams. For we know in our hearts that your eternal word to us is always this, that in the end all will be well. All will be well. In your great love we pray. Amen. Friends, go forth with Kaz in your heart and his name on your lips. Tell stories of him, sing his praises, exaggerate his dental hygiene, and keep his spirit alive in your memory and in your hearts. For his life, like all our lives, was a rich and beautiful mystery, not ours to understand, but ours to receive as the gift that it was. And as we go, may God surround you with grace, sustain you with love, and renew you with hope this day and all your days. Amen.